What do generational pain and shooting a porno have to do with horror? Find out tonight on T Watches a Scary Movie when we review TWASM X and Umma. This is T Watches a Scary Movie. Welcome everybody to another brand new edition of T Watches a Scary Movie. I, of course, am T, and we're talking scary movies. I appreciate everybody tuning in for another brand new episode. Remember, new episodes go up every Wednesday night. The audio-only version goes up on your favorite podcasting platforms at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That includes platforms like Podbean, Spotify, Audible, all those places like that. Definitely check us out there. And of course, the video version, if you're watching us right now, goes live on YouTube at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Also, that link is over here. You can see that right there if you want to go ahead and get subscribed. So again, you get alerts when the new episodes are going up. Now, with all of that, make sure you're following me on social media as well, too. You can see my Instagram, see my Twitter over there as well. And of course, most importantly, you can see the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/T Scary Movie. If you go to the Facebook group, that's where you can get into our watch parties that we're doing. We do watch parties every Wednesday night on our Discord channel. We do the show, then we usually watch a movie or two, or some TV shows, depending on what week it is. As the format of the show has gotten better and better, folks, now I think I'm locked in until at least right now, like mid-August, to where we alternate. One week is going to be like classic films, so like films that have come out prior to 2022, and then the other week is going to be new films releasing this year. So as the litmus test using X and Umma, and we're going to see moving forward if I can keep up with that, because I want to do new movies. That's the way it's going to work out. If you go to the Facebook group, you can also see the schedule of what we have coming up in our collection as well, too. For example, you already know, tonight we're talking TWASM X and we're talking Umma. Next week, though, we are going to be talking Firestarter and Stay Alive. Yes, in preparation for us to take a look at Choose or Die, the recent Netflix thriller that came out, as well as the remake of Firestarter with Zac Efron that's coming out in May as well, too. So we got to set that up the right way. So that's what we got in store for y'all tonight and coming up here in the next week. But it's been a fun week, y'all. I've really been leaning into my 365 days of horror. If you recall, I mentioned this on the show last week. Elliot McGuire wrote this book, or put this little tracker together, and I picked it up. $9.99 on Amazon, and I've been able to track all the new movies that I've been watching for the last 9 days or so, and I've tried to make it just new stuff because I really want to up my count of new original horror. So that's what I'm trying to do. There's going to be some repeats in there, of course, some not new stuff that I'm going to hit, but we're going to try our best with that, and y'all can definitely see you know, I got a good selection of stuff here going. You know, you could see I got to watch X last week. I got to watch Reincarnation. I watched the Wormwood films. These are some fantastic movies, honestly, that I've had the pleasure of watching. I'm excited to keep it going. Last night, day 9, I actually just got done watching Master, the new horror film on Amazon Prime starring Regina Hall. Really good movie. And we're going to talk about that. I think it's next month is when I have that on the schedule to talk about that. But this tracker for the 365 days of horror has just been so good because it forces me to make sure I'm watching new stuff and keeping track of all that as well, too. Been updating my letterbox with it as well. It's just been fun. And on Twitter, having these conversations with everybody about what kind of horror they're watching these days. And it turns out some of the ones I've been watching are definite big ones that people have been latching on to this year. So that's one you're going to want to pick up. You want to track your movies well, 365 days of horror. Do it. Take it as a challenge. Let's see if we can do a year of horror movies together. In other news, though, Jed Shepard, one of the co-writers of Host, one of the best horror films in the last 20 years, and one of the best horror films just in general, recently revealed to us that he has a great pitch for a new entry in the Blair Witch franchise, and Lionsgate has announced that they are taking pitches on new entries in the Blair Witch franchise. So, Lionsgate, if by chance you're watching this show, for the little chance of that there is, hire Jed Shepard. He is the man to do this for you, especially because he obviously is a huge fan of the Blair Witch franchise. He has the blessing from the original filmmakers as well, too, which he said he's consulted with and would bring in for this as well. It's a win-win situation. Think about it. The original Blair Witch film just printed money. That was an easy film to put out and just go to the races with how much that movie was going to make. Blair Witch 2 was a bit of a misstep, and then Blair Witch, which I really enjoyed, that's my favorite film in the series, not so much getting the critical acclaim that I'm sure everybody would have hoped it would. So this is your chance to kind of do something new and something different with it. Now, who knows where they're going to go with this story. Funny enough, Paranormal Activity 4, Next of Kin, that came out last October. In my review, I very much called it it was very much a Blair Witch movie, honestly. I thought it moved very pointedly away from what had been set up in a lot of the Paranormal Activities movies, and they ended up kind of moving more towards what happens in Blair Witch films. And I thought that was a really good idea because it made it very suspenseful in this last film. It was just fun to watch our characters run around and watch them slowly get killed one by one and everything. Just a really good movie. So I'm hoping that maybe that's where we're going with this. I don't know what Jed's pitch is for the new entry in Blair Witch. And I kind of don't want to know either because I trust the guy. He's made some phenomenal things. His new project Ghost that's coming out hopefully this year. I'm excited for that as well too. I just want to be surprised. So here's hoping that they hire Jed for this job and we get something good out of that. That would be truly tremendous. Yeah, great conversation. I also talked about online recently drinking my White Russian, by the way, Cutwater White Russian. It's absolutely phenomenal. These things are great. Granted, you spend $15-20 for a pack of White Russians, but that's okay. They're still worth it. Anyway, I got into another conversation on Twitter recently talking about what film franchises in horror I thought had no good sequels at all. The first film was fantastic, but nothing else they did after that really matched up to that. And I threw out the suggestion of Jurassic Park. Yes, we've talked about this on this show before. Jurassic Park is absolutely a horror film, but it's also a franchise where the first movie is really the only good one in that grouping, in that pairing there. I felt that obviously the first film's incredible, but as we went to The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, none of those films I really felt the same way. And I don't mean that sense of wonder that I got from the first time that I saw Jurassic Park. I just mean that nothing was really captivating me. Nothing was really keeping me entertained the way that I felt in the first Jurassic Park. I knew I wasn't going to be scared by it. I had a lot of big hopes for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom that fell flat on its face. But ultimately, those movies just didn't really do that much for me compared to the original Jurassic Park. So I'm very curious. Y'all let me know in the comments, what's a horror franchise that you felt that there's only one good one? Whether it's the original film or one of the sequels, there's only one good movie in that bunch and all the rest of them, they're all crap. Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about that and see what other franchises you feel is only rocking one good movie. I have a feeling Paranormal Activity is probably going to be in there. Purge is probably going to be in there as well, too. Yeah, this should be an easy one to go to. So, with that, let's move into our reviews tonight. We had two great brand new 2022 films that we're looking at, and we're going to start with Umma. Now, Umma was written and directed by Iris K. Shim, and it was produced by Sam Raimi, which is really what caught a lot of the attention, and it starred Sandra Oh and Fievel Stewart. It tells the story of this mother and daughter who live out in the woods is not the right way to describe it, but basically they live out in the countryside, and Sandra Oh, who you might know from Grey's Anatomy, plays Amanda, is raising her daughter Chris, played by Fievel Stewart, out in the countryside, trying to stay away from basically like anything big. There's a big insistence on no electricity. They don't live by that. They live by candlelight and lamplight, and they're not using anything mechanical that has electronics in it or anything. And we're led to believe that a lot of this is based on Amanda's upbringing. You know, we start to get bits and pieces over the course of the movie to find out that Amanda did not have the nicest childhood, and that some of the terrors that she experienced as a kid might be coming to terrorize both her and her daughter now as well. Now, what's very interesting is that this story tells a lot about generational pain and some of the things that, you know, we can have. Ancestors, not the right word, but we can have those previous family members who are dealing with a lot of stuff, and they pass that down, and that creates a real sense of terror for everybody around them. And in this case, we find out that Amanda, when she was younger, she was abused by her mother. Her mother moved to the United States from Korea by herself. Wasn't able to speak the language. Didn't really have any friends or anything, and therefore she was left to raise Sandra Oh's Amanda on her own. And that led to, you know, what we could be sure is resentment, and it also led to a lot of abuse as well too. And it poses a question of, you know, is this justified when you yourself are in a terrible situation? Because Amanda's mom, very much not in a situation that was conducive to like her mental or emotional health in the least bit. And obviously some of the abuse that Amanda went through is a direct result of her mother's environment and everything that she had been dealing with. And now Amanda's fighting hard to not become her mother and pass that down onto her daughter, as she realizes her daughter Chris, who's becoming 18, who's becoming of age, is starting to gather other interests. You know, she wants to go to college. She wants to have friends. She wants to go to school. She wants to just try all of these things that she's kind of been sheltered for, because she's literally grown up with her mother as her best friend. And as Amanda points that out throughout the movie, you know, like, you like needed a best friend, so I was here. You know, you wanted to be homeschooled, so I homeschooled you. It's a very interesting tale of transference as well too, because Amanda, who's holding a lot of these pains and fears that she encountered with her mom, is passing that down to Chris. And we get to basically see, as the movie keeps on like working its way through, you know, is this a case to where Amanda's mom is ultimately trying to take control of all of her to keep her daughter there? That if Amanda's not strong enough to keep Chris at her side, then maybe Umma is strong enough to keep Chris there for Amanda's sake. And this forces Amanda to really deal head on with a lot of the demons that she's grown up about. Including even, like I mentioned, the electricity thing, to where, you know, Amanda and Chris don't live with any electricity at all. And Amanda has stated it's because she has like she gets sick, like it causes like severe illness. Like, if you've ever seen Better Call Saul, Jimmy's brother, which his name eludes me at this moment, had the same kind of thing, to where like electronics just like absolutely screwed with his head and made him sick. Same kind of thing, but it turns out it's not a real thing really for Amanda. It's really more so trauma that's been passed down and instilled in her, the reason why she can't be around these electronics. Now, in terms of scares, this movie really does rely on a lot of jump scares in it, just because it's not a traditional story like, you know, somebody's being possessed, we have to do an exorcism and all these things. It's not a story to where we're dealing with a large cast where a number of them are just getting killed or anything like that. Amanda and Chris are definitely being haunted, and they're definitely being visited by the spirit of Amanda's mom, who we don't really know. Is the goal to keep Chris here? Is the goal to punish Amanda for what Umma went through without any help? We don't really know that, and can't really like say for certain which one of these like plot lines it's really following. But that's kind of the unfortunate part about this film, is that there's some really great ideas in it, and I love the idea of passing down this generational trauma and being forced to confront it, being forced to deal with it. But the execution could have been just a bit better with it, honestly. I like the jump scares that were in it, but honestly, most of the scares of this film were really reliant upon that. There wasn't really anything that I felt was coming naturally from the situation. Which sucks because I thought that the relationship between Amanda and Chris was done so well. Like I thought that was kind of the obviously the driving force of the movie is watching to see whether or not they can keep this great relationship they have and they can overcome these problems, or whether Amanda's past is really going to break them apart. Now, there are some other cast members in this as well too. Dermo Mulroney, who you might know from My Best Friend's Wedding or The Grey, shows up as Amanda and Chris is pretty much like their only contact to the outside world. He runs a shop which Amanda and Chris order supplies from regularly to support their business that they're running, as well as his oh Lord, I don't know if it's his daughter or it's his niece, played by Odeya Rush, who is one of the only people that Chris, played by Fievel Stewart again, has been able to make friends with as well too. So the cast is very much contained, and I think that's very much on purpose because again, the idea here is that when Amanda was growing up, her mother didn't have any friends and couldn't speak the language. So I think that idea of not having a big cast and leaving Amanda and Chris isolated, so we can see that Amanda kind of lives the same life her mom did, but she's doing it in a more positive way than what her mother did. I like that parallel. I like the way that they kind of offset that, showing that Umma, Amanda's mother, just wasn't able to handle it and wasn't able to really do anything with her life, whereas Amanda's trying to not repeat those same mistakes, and the reason why she is repeating those mistakes now is because of this haunting that her and Chris are dealing with. So it's a short movie. It is an actual short movie. It's really not that long at all. Only 83 minutes long, and even about 5 to 6 minutes of that is really just credits as well too. So it's not that long of a movie. We get through it fairly quickly, and things move kind of fast as they ramp up with the visitings and hauntings as well too. I think that this is one that you could definitely get like a few jump scares out of, because like I said, it really does rely on jump scares in the film, but I also do enjoy the story. Not so much scary, but I do feel that the story being told about the relationship between Amanda and Chris and Amanda and her own mother is very poignant, it's very relevant, it's very good as well. So check it out. It's available to rent right now on most streaming platforms, including Vudu and Amazon Prime. Definitely one you want to take a look at, especially if you're a big Sandra Oh fan. I know after Killing Eve, there's been a lot of controversy about the end of that. So if you want something that kind of goes a little bit on a better route, check out Umma. And our second film that we're going to be talking tonight is Ty West's X. Now, since I've been talking about this film, I tried to call it Ty West's X every single time, just because I feel that if I just say X, it won't register with a lot of y'all too well, and also kind of sucks because you can't really find it that easily without searching Ty West's X online too. But I digress. Ty West's X tells the story about a cast and crew who gather to make a pornographic film on an elderly couple's rural Texas property, but end up finding themselves hunted by a killer. I remember seeing the first trailer for this, and I think I got the same impression that a lot of people did, is that there are a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities and a lot of callbacks to another popular franchise about a group of people who end up out at the wrong home in Texas. Of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And when you see this movie, it is going to be hard to shake the fact that there are clear parallels and clear evoking of that franchise. But this is probably as far from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or at least the original series, as could be. Because it's not a tale of cannibalism or wearing faces or anything like that. It's actually a very, very interesting tale about temptation and about the things that we'll do to get the life that we want. So our cast here is actually a pretty fun cast of characters who we've seen over the last 20 years in various things. We have Mia Goth playing a dual role here, playing both our protagonist and one of our antagonists, who you might have seen before in Nymphomaniac, or you might have seen in A Cure for Wellness, or even Suspiria, the remake of that came out recently. You have Martin Henderson, who, funny enough, we talk about Sandra Oh and Umma. Martin Henderson from Grey's Anatomy or The Strangers Prey at Night. We have Jenna Ortega from Scream and Studio 666. We have Brittany Snow, who has been in a number of things, including Nip Tuck, Prom Night, Pitch Perfect. Like, she's been in a lot of stuff as well, too. We have Kid Cudi in this as well. Like, it's a great cast of characters in this film. And it's a bit of a slow build up to it, which works really well because we know the entire time something really bad is about to happen. And I actually feel that coming into X, you might be better served not watching the trailer at all, just because it's good to speculate. I feel that, again, I've already mentioned the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's easy to watch like the first like 20 to 30 minutes of this movie, and you can't really get it out of your mind. Like, okay, when's Leatherface showing up? When are these people going to start eating this cast of characters that have shown up? When is somebody else showing up who's going to be committing all these murders? And the movie flips it completely on its head about what this cast and crew of this movie really have to watch out for. And I love it that it circumvented all my expectations, because I didn't really know whether to expect that this film was going like a supernatural route, if this was just going to be a traditional slasher, if it was going to be something else. And the fact that it did become a slasher film is one of the absolute best moves that I feel Ty West could have made with this film. And I say that because he also wrote the movie as well, so clearly this was his intention behind it. But we really do get a killer who, like, everyone always says, oh, it's going to be the next Jason or Michael or Freddy or anything like that. And you don't have to be the next one of those things. I think just being a very memorable killer is all you need to do. And it's a killer that we spend some time sympathizing with, for sure, more so than we have in other films. Like, in other films, like our classic Nightmare on Elm Streets and Halloweens and Friday the 13th and all that stuff, it can be hard sometimes to really sympathize with that killer, because it's like, okay, no matter with all that, you're like this big hulking beast that's like just putting these kids like down like it's nobody's business. But there's still a problem with that, you know, like that's still not really okay that that's what we're doing. And I like the fact that X definitely circumvents it by showing us a different kind of killer coming out after these people. I also love the motivations of the killer as well too, because I feel that you either get a killer who's very much out for revenge for some reason, like Jason, like initially started out being out for revenge, and then it became a whole thing like, don't, you know, step on my fucking lawn. Michael is just, Michael Myers is evil, nothing to do with anything else. He's just evil, depending on which timeline you're working with and everything. And Freddy's getting revenge as well too, because all the parents of Springwood, you know, killed him, and he's getting that revenge there for it. So the motivation in this actually seemed a bit stronger compared to a lot of these other motivations I've seen from other various killers. It's been a position to where it's not it's the opposite of gross. It is not gonna warm your heart by any means. Now you will absolutely feel sympathetic, though, like I said, for our killer, but their motivations are very much still deranged and absolute batshit, and they only get worse and worse as the movie continues on. And it very much plays up the fact that our victims here are shooting a porn. Like, I think that actually it's very clear how much that plays into the motivations of our killer, because we're getting to see and experience a lot of things that wouldn't be happening, you know, if somebody's car just broke down. But this is a case where these people are purposely shooting a smut film, basically, and how our killer is responding to that. And I love that motivation behind it, because this is legitimately a case of, you know, if they hadn't been doing this, they actually might not have been killed at all. This might not have been a problem for them in the least bit. And our characters, our cast of characters are absolutely phenomenal. You know, there's some poignant conversations between Mia Goth's Maxine and Jenna Ortega's Lorraine later on, after they shot a few scenes, about the way that sex works, and, you know, how can you stand like having sex with somebody else and your guy's right there. And it actually gets a lot into conversations about alternative relationships, which is interesting to me because I'm in an alternative relationship. And we're seeing more and more, I feel, in the last couple of years, especially, those are portrayed more on television and on film than ways we've never seen before. You know, I think in the early 2000s, late 90s, like, being gay was like this huge thing. You had to do a reveal. This character's gay on TV, a gay kiss, yada, yada, yada. And now that we're in 2022, it's like, okay, obviously that's the norm. There really isn't a problem with the gay relationship on TV. That's fucking normal. It is normal. It's just as normal as a heterosexual one. But then alternative relationships, and in case you don't know what I mean, open marriages, ethical non-monogamy, polyamory, swingers, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that is addressed here in X as well. And I really like that. Obviously, number one, because that's the, a relationship that I'm in, but more so because I want that to be more commonplace, because it's not insane, and especially in horror. Films that have existed for, 100 years. And as they got more modernized around like the 60s and 70s, they started being talking a lot about sex and a lot about promiscuity and things like that. And they were always villainized, for just wanting to have sex back in the day, to where now we're moving forward to where we're trying to show that there's other sides to that as well too. I think that's such an interesting viewpoint and standpoint to bring in a movie like this, and it's the perfect movie to highlight that as well too. I really, really enjoyed scenes like that. And it's funny because like it's always be these random scenes that I pick out, like that's my favorite scene in the movie. Like last night in Soho, the scene to where Thomasin McKenzie's character, she takes the guy back to her room, and the guy's just checking up on her, and he immediately stops when shit seems off there, because it's the fucking new millennium at this point there, and we don't just like break consent, like we have to check consent. And I love the fact that we get to see other things like that here in a movie like X. Now, to the point of the kills, this is a scary film. Like it takes a bit to get there, but the amount of foreshadowing for shit that's coming later on in the film is amazing, including a scene where one character is swimming in a lake, and we definitely see that there's a crocodile or an alligator there kind of watching them. Very, very heavy foreshadowing as well. But the killer, when the killer starts going after our victims, man, do they get brutalized and terrorized in this film, including probably one of the worst stabbings that I feel I have ever seen on film. And I've been watching a lot of horror movies, y'all, and the stabbings, like basically the kill that sets this film off. So if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But the first kill that sets this entire film off is the most brutalist in the entire film. It's mean, it's angry, it's bloody, it's visceral, it's gory as shit. It's so good. And Ty West, who, if you recognize that name, did what's it called? A few other really good ones I know y'all have seen as well too. The House of the Devil, The Innkeepers, and then he also was in like You're Next. So he's been in some films to where like it's just been insane shit that the characters are dealing with. And he does such a good job building tension and giving us like certain camera shots, because like I love like shots to where we can see our protagonist, but then we can kind of see like our antagonist in the back as well too, like just out of focus, and like you don't know where you're really supposed to be like paying attention to. I absolutely love that. I think that is so good, honestly. And he's a great filmmaker. And as the film keeps going on and things keep getting bloodier and more of our characters are getting their just desserts, depending on how you look at it, he just builds this great story of our lead character, Maxine, trying to do whatever it takes to survive this and just get the life that she has said is going to happen and that she deserves. And that is a very important part, because that ends up coming back around towards the end of the film in a very big reveal, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal too. But it also serves the point that Mia Goth not only plays our lead character Maxine, but she also plays the antagonist as well too. And I found that to be incredibly interesting. Like a very interesting concept with this movie, because she is terrifying as our antagonist, but she's also incredibly inviting and warm and sweet and inquisitive as our protagonist, Maxine. If you're looking for something scary, if you're looking for something bloody, this is absolutely the movie for you. If you're looking for a good story, this is absolutely the movie for you as well too. And if you're looking for something that's going to make people uncomfortable while you watch it, they got you on this one as well too. Check out X. Just like Umma, it's available right now to rent on most streaming platforms, including Vudu and Amazon Prime Video. And that is going to do it for us, folks. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new episode. Remember, be back here next week. I'm going to be talking Stay Alive, and I'm also going to be talking Firestarter. You don't want to miss that. Make sure you're coming right back here to check this out. But for now, I'm T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.